Either way, I graduated from U of H, but it's not time for me to go pursue computer science. Obviously just for financial reasons and stuff like that. But and that's when I started, really pushing my company, and that's whenever I reached out to you, because I didn't have time to do anything.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Local Service Podcast, episode 34, I believe. And today we have Jose with Grease Buddy's Grease Service. And this is great because I've been working with Jose now for 3-4 months. I know a little bit about him. I know a little bit about his business, but I don't know the whole story. So
Right. Thanks for having me over.
thanks for taking the opportunity.
Yeah,
not a lot of people will come and do these things. So
yeah, I was a
kudos
little
to you
bit
as well.
skeptical coming over, just because I never knew you like personally or physically. So I was just like, I don't know what I'm getting myself into. So it's a cool.
So why did you come?
So I saw Red's podcast. I saw your podcast with Red.
Shout out Red.
Yeah, and then shout out Red. And I thought it was really cool because he's a local guy in my area, and then a lot of people know him. So that's the reason why, I was like a little bit scared to come on, but, after seeing him and, being casual with it, I felt more comfortable with it.
That's awesome. Great, man. So yeah, the point of the idea behind the podcast is we talk about your business, how you got started, why you got started, some things you've done to get customers, but along with that, also just stuff about you, what, it's the things that we've been through that get us through,
Right.
to the next step. So I guess to start off, let us know, what is it that you do and just a little backstory of that.
Yeah, so our company does grease collection pickup. So we go to a restaurant. We pick up used cooking oil. So whenever a restaurant cooks for the whole day and the fryers, they had to change out the oil and dump it somewhere. So we provide containers for the restaurants. We put them in the back usually, and then they dump off the oil in the container. And then so after a while, we don't really go daily to the restaurants. So we go we have a schedule for certain restaurants, and it could be monthly, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, whatever the case may be, just depending on the volume of the restaurant. So we do that, and we also do grease trap. So grease trap is kind of mandatory just because that's city regulations and stuff like that. So that's mostly quarterly. So every 3 months you have to clean it
what's
up.
the difference between the restaurant recycling and the
Right.
grease trap?
So the restaurant recycling is that's just pure oil. So that's just
Like do you cook with?
yeah, exactly. And then so that's really good product for making other products. So that comes into biodiesel, cosmetic items, soap, a bunch of other things. So
Didn't know that.
yeah, and a lot of people don't know that.
No, that's interesting.
I tell my lady all the time, like, hey, make sure you don't buy cosmetic items from the dollar store or anything like that. If you're going to go buy some makeup or anything like that, buy it at Sephora or something like that. Like a reputable store. And then so, and then the grease trap, that's more like where all the faucet water, the sink water and all that stuff goes to that specific area, and that's more like underground. So. Those sewers that you pick up whenever you go down there.
Manholes?
Yeah, manholes. And so if a restaurant wants to open, they have their they have to have that mandatory. So every restaurant has different sizes of the manholes, and we clean those up depending on the dimensions of the manhole. So that's every 3 quarters, and then we give them a manifest saying that, hey, Buddy's Grease Service cleaned that out. And then you guys are good to go for the next 3 months.
And then they have that they give that to the government or the
no,
state?
so if an inspector comes and then they're like, hey, you haven't cleaned out your grease trap. What's the big deal? No, we have, because sometimes grease traps are they look dirty, but they're really not, just because it's all the extra waste and stuff like that. And there's the manifest states that, hey, Buddy's Grease Service came on that date and cleaned it up for us. So that's the whole process with the grease trap.
Okay, cool. Is there any other? So they're both restaurant based, I guess?
Yes. Grease trap can be more like, other than restaurants, it can be more like, the tea shops and stuff like that too. So
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Okay.
So not necessarily restaurants, but like it could be other companies too.
Okay. Does it stick to mainly like food?
Yeah, for the most
Stuff
part.
people consume?
Right.
type
Yeah,
stuff?
for the most part.
Okay. In addition to that, other services that you guys offer?
So we do also pressure washing. So that's included with our service for grease recycling. So every time we go pick up the used cooking oil, we offer them a free pressure wash. That would be like once a year. So unless that our container is leaking or anything like that, we offer them free pressure washing for that.
Why is it free?
Because we have a faulty container, so that's why if it starts leaking, it's on our on
okay.
us. Yeah.
I see.
So if our container starts leaking for some reason, we'll go clean it
I
up for
see.
them. But we on top of that, we offer them one free pressure wash per year, just because the margins are for it got really competitive in the market, so we had to add something additional to our services.
I mean, in my case, Symphony Advertising, we basically offer the website for free.
Right.
Our service is a price for that, but we include the website. So it's not free per se, but it's included. But yes, to differentiate yourself, to add value, that's why that's in there. Okay, very cool. Do you do pressure washing on its own?
Yes and no, just depends, because pressure washing, it's really not that high of a margins for our business and our time, just because it's not comparable to the margins. So
And it's kind of different, right? That's different from what you.
right. Yeah. I mean, the trucks that we use has one side, there's a pump, so that's where we pick up the oil and everything like that. On the other side, if anything happens to our trucks, or a leakage starts happening at the restaurant, we have an emergency pressure wash on the other side. So we have those two hooked on to the trucks just in case anything happens, because once it starts leaking with oil, it's really tricky to clean up and stuff like that. So you have to clean it up on the spot. If not, it starts really stick to the concrete really, really, really bad, and it's really noticeable. And then that's whenever the inspector comes and be like, hey, what happened here? Oh, they just dropped, they spilled oil all over. So that's a big fine for you coming.
Okay. Yeah. So then it's almost mandatory to have that attached to the trucks.
Yes.
Gotcha. Anything else in addition to the grease trap,
Pressure washing,
and recycling?
jet line cleaning.
Jet line cleaning is another one.
Yes. So that's more like if you have clogged up pipes for your sinks, we put it's like a pressure wash too, but the tip of it is it sprays out in 4 different ways. So we have a machine that goes through the pipe, and then it pushes the pressure wash all through the pipe, and then unclogs the whole line of the sink. So that's the last service that we offer.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So 4 services in one company.
Awesome. So okay, thanks for giving us that context, that what you do and all that. So how does one get into that? How did you get into that business?
So it was really more like a family business at the beginning. And then so my uncle, he owns a grease recycling plant. And then so my dad and all my uncles essentially started working, not for him, but, collecting oil to dispose at his, grease recycling company. And then so.
Is that in Houston?
Yeah, in Houston. Sometimes they they try to expand into Louisiana, but some of them stayed, some of them didn't. So just because it's a longer drive and long hours for that, and then so yeah, I mean it started from family business, and it just kind of branched out to, I guess, the nephews and the nieces and stuff like that. So that's how I got started too.
And so how was it like was that your first job and you just stuck with it forever? Did you also try other things
No, I guess technically it kind of was my first job, just because my dad forced me to go work with him. So I kind of knew what the inside and outs of the business, but I was never really interested in it. And then so my first job was really working at a restaurant, BJ's Brewhouse. And then and funny thing is that I was a fry cook, and then so I kind of knew how to work the fryers, where to clean out the fryers and stuff like that. And I was disposing the oil into those containers myself too. And it was a different company at the time, but yeah, I mean, that's how I started. And
So how has the process been? Like, what role do you have currently in the business? Again, was that the role you entered in, or what was like the beginning position? Like, what is that? So how long have you been doing it?
I would say since I think like 6 or 5 years. 6
Okay.
or 5 years. But I was really not interested in it just because, obviously the pay, kind of like, was pretty good. And then so at the time I was going to U of H because I wanted to do computer science.
Okay.
And then so the business was like in the back burner, so I didn't really care for it, or not that I care for it, but like it was just a second thought.
Right.
And then so because I really thought I was going to be going into computer science, either cybersecurity or SEO or website creations or something like that. But I once I graduated,
Which was
20s last year. What was it, 2022? Yeah,
2022?
Yeah,
Wow.
2022. Yeah, and then so yeah, it feels like a long time. But I was applying, and then it's really hard to get into the computer science field. Yes, like into a good company. But
so I hear. Yeah.
yeah, and then so because I really didn't have an internship for computer science, so I feel like that's the reason why not a lot of companies reached out to me, but some of them did, but it was like those really low paying jobs and stuff like that.
Like not worth really pursuing.
Right, exactly. And then so that's when I got the opportunity I got a national food chain for the business, and then that's whenever I told myself either way, I graduated from U of H, but it's not time for me to go pursue computer science, obviously just for financial reasons and stuff like that. But, and that's when I started, really pushing my company. And that's whenever I reached out to you, because I didn't have time to do anything anymore. But that's when it kind of took off.
Yeah. So, and then I just know because we've spoken, but like, are you just in Houston, or what all areas do you service, and how or why, I guess?
So not just in Houston, but the greater Houston, so like Sugar Land, Pearland, Baytown. But we also go like to the reason why I go to Dallas is because I'm kind of obligated to go over there because I have a commitment with the national food chain. And then so that's the only reason why we go to Dallas. But Austin, we go to Austin, Waco, Temple, and then that's far west. And then far east, we go to Lake Charles and Beaumont. And then I would say College Station as well, and Lake Livingston and Conroe. So
everywhere.
If it's like 2.5 hour radius from Houston, we could probably do it just because it's kind of close to us, but not really. But we would like to branch out to different cities.
Are those all like one day trips, or are those like multi-day?
No, it's just one day. It's just one day. So
usually you go get it. I'm assuming this is for the recycling?
Yeah, recycling.
So go pick it up or service. I'm not sure exactly what the
Yeah.
process is.
Yeah.
Like, do you just...
Yeah, we have the pumps, so it's just a pump system that picks up the oil, and then so it's a one day trip, let's say trip, and then because we leave like at 7 a.m., so we probably get there like at 9:30, just before the restaurants open, and then we go all around the city because we have a route where we follow, and then that route takes us about 2-3 hours to finish. And then plus the 2.5 hours to come back to Houston. So it'll be like an 8-hour shift, if you would say.
Would this be a one-man crew, or does it take multiple people?
It really depends. Me, myself, I really do a lot of the work itself. But with higher volumes, you have to have, a bigger crew. Just because, you'll be surprised how much one person can really do in this business. But you really do need help after a certain volume, because it starts to accumulate, and then different restaurants are calling you from different cities or different part of town, and then you're like let's just say you're in Pearland. Someone's calling you from, Conroe. You have to drive all the way to Conroe to just go pick it up. And then someone else calls you and they're in Baytown, and then you got to drive all the way back to Baytown. So it's really important to have, a schedule, a daily schedule or a monthly schedule, and then having those routes for, to have the most efficiency to pick up the oil.
So how do you go about that? That is interesting. Like, you would like to have the best route possible. So having everybody on a weekly, bi-weekly, monthly schedule allows you to plan
Right.
for that. Are all of these clients that you have, are they typically not one-offs? Like typically, or they can be?
Not necessarily. I mean, they can be, but for the most part, they're not. Because, like the average time for you to stay, like a restaurant stays with you for like an average of like, 2-3 years. And then so,
Why would they leave?
financial reasons, because another company will come by and, offer them even more money than what we do. So, because
Because you pay the...
we pay the restaurants.
Okay,
Yeah.
explain that part.
Yeah. So
What?
so we pay restaurants. We pay restaurants, money per gallon, right? So that's the reason why this business is really taking off and it's getting more attention per every year, and then so we pay the restaurants per gallon, and we have containers set for those amounts. So we build, it could be a barrel which holds 50 gallons. We have 100, 150, 200, 250. That's the max, 250. And unless you're really throwing a lot of oil on a weekly basis, which would be like really insane.
Like, it would have to be like a giant
Right,
restaurant?
right. I don't know, like it had to be like, I don't even know who throws a lot. I mean, yeah, because our main restaurants, they throw 250 gallons every 2 weeks. So I haven't seen a restaurant that throws more than that. And then the price of the oil, cooking oil, is probably like, every 5 gallons that you buy, it costs like $50. And then so we basically give them $2 per gallon, and that's what we offer. And then somebody comes by and offers more. That's whenever the restaurants are more tempted to go.
And I would assume it's pretty easy for them to, like, okay, I get $50 with Buddy's Grease, but this guy's giving me 75. Like, it's kind of a hard, how do you say no, stay with us, but
Right.
why would they, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Aside from the relationship that, if there is one, I would
Right.
assume.
Yeah, and for the most part, yeah, a lot of people, that's not really much contracts in this business. I mean, they used to be. I mean, obviously, like back in the day, it'll be more contract based, and then they'll be with you for like 2-3 years. So they're kind of obligated to stay with you 2-3 years. But once that contract expires, they're not gonna want to sign another contract if a company comes by and says, hey, we'll pay you this much, but no contract. And then so they can switch companies as often as they like.
At will.
At will, right. And then so they don't have any obligation to, to be with you at any time. And so that's the reason why, a restaurant would change.
Yeah, I see. And it's interesting because in gyms, in my business, in your business, and a lot of businesses now, like the whole contract thing is really going away.
Right.
Like, what do you think about that? Like, there's your side, right? Like, if you could still put people on contracts, then you could lock someone in, a customer in for like 2-3 years. But you as the consumer, let's say you go to the gym, like, I would think you yourself would not want a yearly contract with that.
Yeah, I wouldn't. Listen, I try really hard to go back to the gym and, go as often as possible. But, there's times where like, I get lazy and I just don't want to go. And then I'm obligated to pay either way and I just feel like, I feel really bad. I'm just like, it's not worth my time to go get a contract, at LA Fitness or something like that. Whenever Planet Fitness or, Fitness Connection have, those $10 a month, why would I commit myself for that time period? And then, I feel, I give the consumer more power to them. they're gonna do everything in their own interest, but you know, I just feel you have to worry about your own company.
Yeah.
You can't worry about anybody else than yourself. Just because you start worrying about other companies or what they're doing and stuff like that, it's good to get pieces out of that out of their company to integrate it in yours. But once you start getting in too much in your head about hey, why is this company offering more or different services, anything like that, you can't worry about that. You just have to worry on the customer and always ask for feedback. I think feedback is the most important thing in the business because if you don't talk to your customers or your clients, then you don't know what they're thinking. You don't know where their headspace is at, and you might think, hey, I'm paying them really good, or I did a free pressure wash. They're happy and stuff like that. But in reality, there's another company that is going to offer 2-3 pressure washers per year or offer more money. So it's always important to ask for feedback, and then that's what I really try to do with my customers, even though I suck at asking them for feedback on Google.
Yeah, that's it's funny because it's essentially the same thing. Just one is more just like feedback on the service, and one's more like a testimonial in a sense.
Right.
So how do you go about getting feedback on your services and all that? You just ask them straight up, or is it an email? Is it a text? Like how do you go about?
Right. So every time we give them the invoices, so that's whenever we ask them, hey, how was our service for today? Hey, how did we do today? Did we do any leakage, or do you need a new container, or do you need like a pressure wash or anything like that? So for the most part, restaurant owners don't really care, how dirty it looks, unless they're like in a really, really nice area that's really strict. They really do care about how the container looks in the back. So,
and that's in the back, like
yeah,
it's not like it's not, most people can't see it unless you're working.
Right, exactly. Okay. Yeah, you go to the dumpster area, that's where our containers are at. So it's really kind of like hidden, like the container. So it's kind of hard to see, who does the service there, unless you have a unique container, that somebody will, be like, hey, I know who's that. It's Buddy's Grease Service. Or
so the containers are something you guys provide?
Yes.
So
it's free.
Right. So you guys do the recycling and provide the containers.
Right.
And you pay for the
yeah.
It's interesting, right?
Yeah, it's a lot of money that you have to, put up at first. But, because I it's not like a gym or anywhere else where like, a restaurant itself either, that you're spending, let's just say like $2,000 per, for an expensive item.
Right.
Expensive item for us, it's, over $20,000. So, we really need to know, like for me managing my, my business and my income, it's really important because, I might want a new truck. I might want a new like, pump or container or, whatever, that may be. I have to have those reserves in at all costs, because once I let it go, because you see numbers right in your bank account, and it's like, oh wow, that's all mine, but in reality it's not. Yeah. It's really not
operating money. Yeah,
and it's like it's insane amounts, but you have to make sure that you don't touch it at all, because it's tempting.
Yeah, and then I mean that's how you put yourself in sticky situations. So with the invoicing, just general questions now, or at this moment, how do you do invoicing? Is it still like paper?
Yeah, so for the most part, local restaurants, they don't really, for the most part, it's I would say like the age group of 50 to 65 business owners or restaurant owners that we do service for. But I start seeing the like the 30 to 45 year olds starting to come up in the restaurant business, and then so for the most part, some it's for the most part it's mostly paper, but sometimes there's it's Zelle or it's Cash App or PayPal. We do PayPal invoices and stuff like that. But yeah, for the most part, it's mostly cash and it's paper.
Okay, so weird question now. What are you invoicing for? Like that's the invoice that they're giving you and you're paying them?
I'm giving them an invoice. It's like a receipt. It's saying that, hey, Buddy's Grease Service picked up 100 gallons for this date on this amount, and also how much oil is on the container, because sometimes restaurants throw water in them and then you're not supposed to.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because we get deducted by water, like how much water we have in our loads. So make sure that we don't have water in that. So, but yeah, I mean, for the most part, yeah, it's paper invoices and PayPal as well.
Okay, cool. So to understand the business even further that you operate here, so what's on the other side? Like, what happens after you've collected all this grease from all these towns with all these, clients? Like, what? I suppose you sell it to someone or some business?
Yeah, so we sell it to. So we're in the process of doing this too, but we have someone that goes and buys our oil, at a higher price, and then so what they do is basically, all the water that I was telling you about, all the extra food on it, they separate that from the oil. So it's a heating process, it's a division process, and they have to have the oil at a 0%, which is or close to it, which is just pure used cooking oil, and then after that they sell it to a even bigger company that which starts adding the chemicals for the products and stuff like that. So adding the chemicals for biodiesel, and then they'll start shipping out the biodiesel to certain gas stations and stuff like that.
So it's a whole chain.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a whole chain, and then I don't know if you know this, but does it only go one way? Like once it's grease that's recycled, does it only go one way, or can it go back to being recycled again?
No, once it's used for used cooking oil, it's recycled for a different product, and then once that's recycled for that product, let's just say biodiesel, it's gone.
Okay,
it's gone.
It's
in the air, or even cosmetic items. Okay. You put in makeup and then you wipe it off and it's gone.
Okay,
and
then put it back in the fryer.
Exactly. Yeah, and then it's because if you once you cook up the oil, it has the chemicals on it change on the oil itself. So it's not possible to go backwards on that form. But you can add the chemicals to make it into a different product. So that's where the biodiesel and cosmetic items come in.
I have a similar story real quick. So I went to Puerto Rico. I visited the Bacardi factory. They said that the man who invented Bacardi, there was two types of sugar things you can get them. One was molasses and one was like some other plant. Everybody threw away molasses. So he went after molasses, figured out how to make a sugar. That's how he made Bacardi. So it's kind of similar where no one is using now everybody knows.
Right.
Or so we think. Right. About the grease, recycling grease.
I still don't think people know about that.
I mean,
I feel like, it's not mainstream. Like, I feel like not just cooking oil, but I feel like a lot of things are still not mainstream. So, like, a lot of things are actually recyclable. And then, it's always, like, now it's more like, government tracked. Because, there's times where, like, you see the stories where factories blow up and stuff like that. But, they're tracking everything where you're picking it up or, what are you doing with it, and who you selling it to, and then they want to have traceability on that. But yeah, I mean, going back to that point, I mean, it's the sugar one. I feel like I didn't even know about that either. So
yeah, apparently it's like 1900s, like it's like a while ago, but no one knew how to extract the sugar out of the molasses.
Right.
And apparently it took like 10 years to figure out. So I get it. Like people didn't want to go through that.
Yeah.
Do you have any other like recyclable things that you're aware of that you're like, maybe that'd be interested to like go after, or are we sticking purely to the current grease?
There's opportunity to do a lot of stuff, but you'll need like a big investment on that. But because we do containers, right? So we have custom built containers, and then so
you use another company to help you build,
right? Or we have our own people that can weld.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that can weld the containers.
Very cool.
And then so after a while, those containers do really get dirty, and you start replacing parts of them, and then for the most part, if it's a new restaurant, you don't want to reuse that old container. And it kind of looks, it kind of makes it feel like that they're not a priority, like the
containers.
The new restaurant owner, like the new customers you have. It makes it look like, hey, you gave me somebody else's used container. But I mean, sometimes I don't really care about it, but I care about that because that's my image and for my company. So I try to keep those clean as possible. Changing them out, once in a while. But at the same time, I was thinking about, probably do like scrap metal, like,
Okay.
and try like, go into that too. But that's far in the future, not anytime soon.
Yeah, just a peak. So
Yeah.
what do you think about the business now that you've been doing it for a little while, that like fully, right? Not just like while you're in school or anything like that. So like, what do you think about it now? Like what have you changed your mind? Are you still kind of like, this is what I'm doing for now? Is it do you see it going somewhere? What's just like your near future thoughts?
So it kind of changed my mindset a little bit, just because I enjoy, marketing, talking to other people, meeting restaurant owners, because they kind of relate to me too, because in a way, because I guess I meet them, I meet local business owners.
How do
every
you,
single
how do you do that part?
day. Which one? Like talking to them?
Yeah, like how do you, so you essentially pick up restaurant clients?
Right. Oh, like new clients.
Yeah, like how do you get them?
So it's kind of hard, honestly.
Because just to when we spoke, there was no real website. There was a domain, and there
Right.
was no Google profile.
Right.
And it was actually kind of hard to find like anything on you.
Right.
Not you, but like your
The
company.
business,
Yeah.
yeah.
Your, so I was like,
No, yeah, because
who are these people? Like I don't know what they do or what.
no, yeah, it's because I tried to make my own website and I was doing it and I bought the domain,
Yeah.
and then so
I mean, it was a decent.
yeah,
attempt.
not really.
It was a decent attempt.
No, yeah, and so I tried, to do my own website, but I never really published it. I mean, I kind of did it with like GitHub pages, but obviously the SEO or anything like that was you can't.
Yeah, I would say that's like a way more advanced way of doing it.
Which one?
GitHub.
Really?
I think so. I go.
I just went to YouTube and saw how they did it.
Nah, I would say that's like you're capable of doing a lot more but you're more like in the weeds.
Gotcha.
Yeah, with WordPress or even Wix, Squarespace, like you're
Yeah.
just getting the design part.
Right.
With-
And that's the thing. I never touched WordPress or
Oh, it would make sense though, because you were in computer science.
right.
You
So-
would go down that road.
Yeah. I'll literally kill myself
Yeah.
to finish this
Yeah,
this,
like,
this
just
project.
to put Hello World is like a whole process.
Yeah, and then-
actually that's pretty easy. But
Yeah, so that's the reason why I kind of wanted to do my own website.
that makes sense.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
And then so, but yeah, I mean, I failed miserably, and it's part of it. It's part of the process. You learn on as you go, but yeah, I mean, like the reason why to get new clients, it's kind of like door to door at first, and then so once you have a certain clientele, word of mouth after that. So I started telling them, hey, you know what? If you have a friend or somebody that a relative or anybody, just tell them about us. We'll give you like a referral bonus. And then so that's the reason why we started to pick up more clients.
Referral bonus.
Right. And then so it doesn't really take them much, because let's just say if I go to a restaurant, and then it used to happen too often, but they will pay for the company to come pick it up. So we pay for the oil, right? So they will pay the company to come pick up the oil.
Oh, right. The
So
opposite. Like,
opposite, right. And then so that's whenever I told them, hey, just by any chance, do you have a a family, family members, friends, or anything like that are interested? And then for the most part, whenever it was that case, they do have friends and families that have restaurants and their own too. And then obviously if they're paying for the oil, they're gonna be like, hey, I have this company that comes by and picks up the oil and they pay us per gallon. And then so it'll be easy for them to switch over with us.
because it's the opposite.
Yeah. And then you're
pay or get paid.
exactly. And
Let's get
yeah, and that's the reason why a lot of clients switched over with us.
So, question now about the more broader market for this. Do most restaurant owners do that? Get paid for their
Now
recycling?
they do, yeah.
Now they do.
Yeah, now they do.
Because so everybody's or enough people found out that
Yeah.
you go knock on every door and say, "Hey, I will give you money." You know, I actually did this with books.
You?
When I was in college, yeah, I worked at a bookstore, and there was a book buying position where you would go to college campuses and you'd go knock on doors and you would ask the professor, like, because professors get free books from publishers because the publisher wants them to designate this history book for their class.
class.
So they might get 8 books every year.
Right.
They're only going to use one. So there's 7 books that aren't being used that are being used other places.
Right.
So we would go to them and we would say, hey, we will buy your books. Had a little scanner. We would scan it. It'd say, this is worth $30 for wholesale. We'll give them $30.
Right.
They'll take, and someone would yell at you like, hey, you're increasing the price for everybody's books. And then we take it back to the bookstore, and then the bookstore would pay us a certain amount, and then they would sell it at
Wow.
retail.
That's
yeah.
insane.
It was insane. And I remember I always had like crappy jobs, but this was like one day, and it was like $500, which
Right.
at the time I was like, in one day, I mean, $500. That is crazy. Nowadays, it's like whatever. No kidding. But I remember I was like, dude, that's crazy. I got lost in a tangent, but that's when I not figured out, but I was like, damn, if you can put yourself through that like super weird, uncomfortable scenario,
Right.
where you're like, hey, do you have books available? I'll buy them from you. You can make some cheese apparently.
Yeah.
But back to your point, which was about knocking on doors,
The referral bonuses and
the
stuff like that.
referral bonus. I completely lost my train of thought.
Yeah.
I got excited with the scanners.
Right. No, because they kind of like, just to piggyback off that, you start to see a pattern, and once you start seeing that pattern, it's like, hey, like, I know I can, if I go to enough professors, then I can keep on repeating the cycle, and then get paid for that book for retail price. Then I'm gonna keep on doing it, and then obviously that professor just goes and be like, hey, these kids are buying these books from me at this price. You want to sell them to them, or they'll it's just word of mouth that they'll go to that, like in your case.
So, okay, so you bring up that referral bonus. It does well, which is great. Whenever you find one strategy that helps like spread your message, that's like you can really harp on that for a while.
Right.
So is that how you started from Houston to all these other, or is it like you could get a restaurant in Houston that has locations in
Right. Yeah.
other cities?
Yeah. So for the most part, I think the one food chain that we got, that's the reason why we go to those spots. But before that, we would go to Lake Livingston and Conroe. So that's like the furthest out we would go. And then so obviously with now that we do Austin and Dallas and Lake Charles, we're trying to execute while we have the chance.
Because you're going there anyways.
Yeah, exactly.
So if you could swing by another 10.
Exactly. And then, start increasing our market share in those cities, our name will start, popping up more often there. So, and that's the reason why we offer those referral bonuses, just because I'm not sure if, some because we have competitors too, and it's a lot of them here in Houston. But in Austin, Dallas, Waco, or Lake Charles or Beaumont, there's really nobody there.
Really?
Nobody's there. And it's weird because I thought Houston was like, Houston's known for like energy and stuff like that. And then so, I really thought that, people would go to Beaumont. But I guess it's the hassle to go from Houston to Beaumont that they don't want to struggle with that.
Okay, so the grease recycling companies here don't want to go all the way to Beaumont.
Not really, not necessarily. Because if they'd rather stay here in Houston, they would. And then so that's where I see opportunity, and that's where I want to execute, because I see these companies and they're like, sometimes in those cities they pick them up for free, or pay them pennies on the dollar. So that's where I see opportunity, and and I think the referral bonus strategy will really work there in those cities.
Yeah, we should really add that to this website, by the way.
Yeah, we should.
Referral bonus. Click here. This is what you get.
Yeah.
Does everyone get the same kind of referral bonus, or it depends on what kind of person they refer, or size?
No, everybody gets the same one. Doesn't really matter. Just as long as we have our name and image out there, that's all I really care about.
Yeah.
Because let's just say if that restaurant doesn't really do a lot of volume, doesn't really matter, because I'm going to that same shopping center,
right?
And then I see 5 other people in the same shopping center with different companies, and I'm like, hey, I can probably execute on this shopping center and start growing my position here.
So you're saying, I think I'm hearing you right. You're saying because you are servicing that referral now, your truck is outside.
My container.
Your container is the ad.
Is the ad.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
And then
they're labeled.
Yes.
Ah.
Yeah, so all the containers are labeled.
Where are the images
For what?
for the containers?
I sent you one.
We need more.
No, I'll get you more.
We need all
Yeah,
of them.
I'll
If
get
they're
you.
on the street, they should be like.
No, they're all behind the
Well,
restaurants,
yes,
and that's
and that-
and that's the difficult part about it is that if
it's
it
not
was
prominent.
yeah,
It's not like a billboard.
it's not. I wish it was, but if somebody does go towards the back,
Like put a QR code on there. Want a referral bonus? QR code links to the website.
there you go. Now we're
Contact
talking.
us here.
Can you write that down? No, yeah, but no, that's awesome. I mean, yeah, we should write that down.
I got you.
I appreciate it. And no, yeah, but that's the reason why, we put our containers and we have that image out there in the back. And then so, as long as other, because they're basically neighbors, the restaurants. And then they talk between each other too all the time. And they're like, hey, who picks up your oil? Oh, this company. And how much are you getting paid? Oh, I'm getting paid this amount. And then how much is Buddy's paying? And they're like, oh, because they all talk. And, you're not going to control 100% market share, but as long as the services that you have are set in stone, then you should be good. Like I said, like if I have my container outside, even though the restaurant doesn't have a lot of volume, I'll be happy because my name and my image is out there.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. So you're amongst the restaurant owner groups of sorts. Like, is that who you deal with a lot?
Yes.
Huh.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on restaurant owner relationship, working with them? I mean, I know it's different than like you're not asking for food or there's a lot of ways you can take it, other supplies.
Yeah.
But do you have any general like I don't know, pickups on that crowd?
They're pretty nice, I would say. They're pretty nice people. They have the same mentality as you and I, and for the most part they do give me free food. That's why I'm a little bit chubby. Yeah, that's why they give me free food for the most part.
That's extremely nice, I guess.
Yeah, and then but that's the thing, that's just going back to the services. It's because we give them a free pressure wash, and if we didn't, I'm pretty sure I wouldn't have gotten that free food. Because they really do appreciate being clean and stuff like that in their area. Because they compare, I don't know, but I think like restaurant owners compare themselves to other restaurants all the time, and they're like, yeah, my area is pretty clean, yours is really not. So I don't know, it's a weird,
It's this thing they do.
Yeah, it's weird. I don't know. And then but yeah, I mean, like they're for the most part they're really nice, understanding. And then some restaurant owners are, you can't even talk to them. Like don't even bother them because they won't even like acknowledge you at all. But it's part of the business. You have to take the blow sometimes and just move on.
They might be getting paid like 3x the grease. That's why like I'm not even gonna.
I don't know because for the most part, our competitors pretty much pay the same, and then if not, we try to match, and then so like what Best Buy does to Amazon. Oh, if a company comes by, we'll match it. That's what.
Kind of to play defense.
Right,
like
exactly.
Someone comes and says, hey.
Yeah, because it's not really big of a difference, honestly. Let's just say because a company that's really really small is going to offer more money, right? But if a company that's really really big is going to offer less money. So as long as you play defense in that sense, then because the margins get smaller and smaller as long as offer them more money. So there's a point in time where like, hey, this is my margins, and I got to stop right there. This is the best I can do.
Yeah.
But all the other services should balance that out from the pay. But most of the times, restaurant owners just see dollar signs at the end, and then so they're like, yeah, you know what, I would rather go with this $50 extra that this company's offering me.
So question now, when they sign up with you or choose to use you, can they get just one service, or does it include all, or they can pick?
No, they can pick.
Okay.
Yeah, they can pick. If they have like let's just say a restaurant that has like an emergency grease trap, right? So that's not the used cooking oil. Because that's more like city regulated. So if an inspector comes by and they say, hey, your trap's not up to date, it's not clean, and your manifest is out of date, so we're gonna fine you this amount. But if you get a company to come by and clean it out the same day, most of the times that inspector, lets it go. You know what I'm saying? So we do offer that service. We're like, hey, if you need a grease trap done today, call us, give us a call, and we'll go the same day. And then you don't have to do the oil, but obviously that's whenever we'll go and be like, hey, we also offer this much for oil, or we have jet line cleaning, pressure washing, and stuff like that. So they don't have to pick if they're fine with our service for grease trap, and then somebody else is paying them 3 times the amount, they can stay with them. As long as we have, each service has its margins. So as long as we do that service, we should be fine.
And then yeah, I mean, that's pretty interesting because I got kind of holed into the whole grease recycling that I forgot that every single one of those could be also an additional service when needed. But on the Manifest grit trap?
Yeah, grease trap.
Grease trap. What are some reasons that do they just forget? Is it carelessness? Is it not follow up?
Yeah, it's for the most part, you don't really pay attention when it's your due date for the grease trap, because you want that company to do everything for you. You know what I'm saying? And that goes scheduling, just coming by every quarterly, every 3 months you come by, do the grease trap. Sometimes they hate when you come because you're going to charge them, because grease trap, you charge them. It's not we don't pay them.
There's
nothing for us to take. And then so they hate when they love when we come, and they hate sometimes when we come.
So is that the grease trap service is it a big expense to them? Is it
no, not necessarily. Well, it can be depending on the gallons we're picking up. So just the amount of gallons we're picking up, it can be really pricey at the end of the day. And then they know they know it's a mandatory thing, because if the inspector comes, they'll pay even a bigger fine.
Have you ever seen one that's been like way overdue and you're like,
oh, yeah, I see that all the time. And then they're like, no, we should be good for like another 2-3 months. And literally it's just mud. It's mud. And then I lift it up. It's over there by Cleveland. I'm not going to call them out, but I lift up the sewer trap, and then we used a stick, and it's like, I put it back up. I covered it up because I did not want to see it. It was that dirty. Sometimes this business gets really dirty really fast, and then so sometimes you have to have like that. If you're sensitive with your nose and your smell, it's not the job for you, because I've experienced really really bad grease traps.
So, yeah. I guess let's not keep going down that. Yeah. It sounds pretty gross.
No, it's disgusting sometimes. And then, but we use, and for the grease trap, we use a bunch of gloves and clothing, and make sure we have the proper clothing for it, because you're going to get dirty and it's not going to be enjoyable.
Wow. Yeah.
Crazy. And that's the reason why a lot of people don't see this as, a good business to be in, or, a business that they want to work in, because you do deal with, the dirty stuff aspect.
Yeah. It's not or it can be not the cleanest.
Right, exactly.
Situation. Which is also kind of like a moat. Like, okay, you guys don't want to do it then.
Yeah.
More for the taking.
Yeah. And then, but, grease trap, really is really different than used cooking oil, because cooking oil has that burnt, whatever you're cooking. So like chicken, seafood, or some type of meat. That it really does leave the smell of that food that you cook on the oil. So for the most part, let's just say you're picking up a wing spot, and then so all that chicken wing that they cook, you can smell it in the oil, but it doesn't. Well, I guess for me it's not dirty anymore, but you smell, because the workers work around the oil all the time, and they're not really freaked out about it. Mm-hmm. So, and then me personally, I'm not either, just because
it's more of a normal smell,
right? Yeah, it's just cooking oil that you put in your pot or pan, and that's what it is. And then obviously you cook, like for example steak, use that butter, that butter, and then like you smell the oil, you smell the burnt, and it's like it's a little bit that steak flavor in it still. And then so but it's a cool business, I guess. And
from this conversation, I'm like, this guy loves what he does. you really know a lot about it. So like,
Yeah, I mean,
to be that detailed about the
Yeah.
situation.
yeah, I mean, I've been around it ever since I was small, so I kind of know the insides and outs
Yeah.
of it. So, but I mean, yeah, it's a cool business.
I mean, we've been going 50 minutes and like dog grease trap and that's awesome, man. Cool. So, anything else? Any what developments, future stuff? I don't know. Questions for me? I don't know. We usually wrap these up 50 to an hour. I don't know if you had anything else. We've heard your story. I don't know, hiring. I don't know, anything you wanna bring up.
I don't really know off the top of my head, but I mean, I think that's the reason why I kind of reached out to you too, just because it kind of made me feel better about myself, about my choice with coming with you whenever I saw Red on the podcast. But at the same time, during the whole process of me and you working together, I've been really really busy. I haven't giving you all the information that you need and the proper information that you need. But I do see a difference on the website and the marketing and stuff like that. So and I know it's a long process too, because the SEO doesn't really kick into like and especially on certain keywords, it's a really it's a dog fight at the end of the day too.
And what's super interesting about you is like, at this point, at least for me, which I guess this is a flaw in me, is that I believe everyone already has a Google profile page.
Right.
And we didn't. I was like,
no.
I can't find it. I was like, where's the? And
No.
then I messaged you. I was like, do you have one? He's like, no, but I can make one. I was like, oh,
No,
can we
yeah.
get started with that, please?
Yeah, no, I mean, that's the and that's
But sorry, the cool thing is that you don't actually need it to like get started, get things moving.
Right.
You don't actually need it. But if you want to continue to take advantage of like 2023, everyone looks online, grease recycling near me.
Oh, listen, I've the top company that comes up in those pages, I know who it is too. And back then, like let's just say like 4 or 5 years ago, he was nowhere. I literally didn't see their containers. But now he's on top of the page because he pays for Google Ads all the time, and he's everywhere now. And he's like, not one of the biggest ones, but like he's getting up there.
You've seen the growth,
right? And his like, not myself because we barely started, but his growth, I've seen it. And it's insane, because like I said, a new restaurant owner, they don't know what they're doing. You know what I'm saying? And then they're going straight to the the first person they see, and that's what I was telling you earlier about. If they see a company that comes up number one, they're gonna go with them, even though you're gonna pay for them. You're gonna pay them to pick up the oil.
They might just not be aware.
Exactly. And then so that's I guess this is downfall about this business, that some companies, they're too big to, to fail. But, try and bring awareness to that, to local restaurant owners.
So do you think that those companies that still get paid by the customer, they still turn around and sell it, or do you think they just dispose of it? Okay.
Yeah,
so they
for
get the double
profit.
Okay.
Yeah. So their margins are like off the roof. So yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah, but like I said, hopefully that's us in the near future.
Absolutely.
With because I think you told me about I had to have Google Ads, and
you don't have to have it. It
Right.
will help.
Oh, and I feel like that's the reason why.
It's more immediate. So Google
Okay.
Ads is like skipping the line. It's saying whenever somebody looks up emergency grease trap cleaning,
Right.
we can pay for that placement.
Right.
Grease recycling in Houston, Waco, X location.
Right.
We can pay for that. Might be $2-3.
Right.
But we can appear for that. SEO, it's gonna be a while.
Yeah.
It's gonna take. It's gonna take.
And I
several
think
months.
a lot of people don't understand that the SEO portion of that either, because you might pay because somebody I know close by, they were top of the page every single time, and they said, no, listen, I'm gonna take off the website because it's too expensive. And then I was like, why? And then they're like, oh, well, I'm paying this amount every month. I'm like, but you're number one. And then Google, yeah, but it's too much. We're already too big. I'm like, okay, that's fine.
You should have asked, hey, I'll buy that domain from you.
I mean,
Or give me your site. Or
Yeah,
I'll pay for it and
Yeah.
reroute all the leads to yourself.
yeah,
Change the phone number.
I should have, but they took it off, and like once I saw, because they already taken it off, but then I asked them after, I was like, hey, so what happened to your
Gotcha.
website? And then that's when they told me like, yeah, it was too much. You know, we have too many clients and stuff like
Man.
that, so we can't scale
That is
up.
a great point. That like in business, right? Like some things are an expense, but it's not always better to remove a $1,500 expense per month. Let's just say as an example,
Right.
Because if that $1,500 expense is positioning you at the top of Google for a keyword that you want,
Yeah.
then it's not really an expense. It's just
not.
part of business that's bringing in more business.
Right, exactly. And
So-
then, and that's what I told them too. But they didn't listen to me. And and the funny part is that they're making a new website.
No, no.
they're making a new website, and then so
Learn the hard way.
yeah, and then so I don't know if because they haven't popped up in their because obviously it's like 6 months of SEO
Mm-hmm.
that they need. So they're barely in the like a month in on their SEO.
Yeah, I mean, it depends. Like, it's not necessarily gonna take forever.
Right.
So let's say they're in
Yeah,
one.
because they have the Google profile and then they have the reviews and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So they might be a shorter time frame, but I told them too. I was like, hey, make sure you guys don't take off the website. They did, and then now they're going back to the website. So I'm just like at a cheaper cost though, at
Yeah.
a cheaper cost because they feel that they don't really believe in the SEO market or stuff like that. They just want to have a landing page, and that's all they. I mean, some businesses just want a landing page, and
Yeah.
it's fine. But as long as you're fine with the consequences of not getting the same clientele as before, then hey, more power to you.
Yeah, I have so many examples on this, but I think this is a good place to stop. So thank you so much, sir, for coming along and taking this kind of risky, like, who is this guy we have never met, never seen this guy in person, and telling your story and a lot about your business. I learned a lot. Really appreciate it. So let them know if they need Buddy's Grease Services.
If you need use cooking oil pickups or grease trap, pressure washing, jet line cleaning, let me know.